All right, let's get right into it. If you're a senior leader, maybe you've been in the game a while, and you're asking yourself, okay, what's next? Then you have landed in exactly the right spot. Today, we're going to break down one of the most prestigious programs out there for seasoned pros, the Sloan Masters in Leadership and Strategy at London Business School. So, here's our game plan. We're going to tackle the 5 big questions that pretty much every single person thinking about this program asks. First, what is it, really? Then, who's in the room with you? We'll walk through how to apply, talk about the investment, and then the big one, what's the payoff for your career? Let's do it. All right, first things first, the LBS Sloan. You've probably heard the name, right? It carries a ton of weight. But what is it exactly? Okay, so at its heart, think of it as a 1-year, full-on, totally immersive experience. And look, this is not just another degree you tack onto your resume. It's a Master of Science built from the ground up for leaders who are already established, leaders who are at that critical crossroads. They're ready to hit pause, rethink their entire game plan, and really gear up for those top-tier global roles. So, you might be thinking, wait, isn't this just a fancy MBA? And that's a great question. The difference is, well, it's pretty simple, but it changes everything. A traditional MBA is awesome for building that general management toolkit, right? But the Sloan, it's laser-focused on people who are already senior executives. And that's the key. The people in the room with you, they completely change the conversation. And honestly, that really gets to the core of it. This quote here from an alumna, it just nails it. This program isn't about going back to school to learn the 101s. It's about giving yourself the permission and the time and space to step away from the day-to-day chaos, to be surrounded by these incredible peers and just challenge everything you thought you knew about leadership and strategy. And that brings us to maybe the single most important part of this whole thing, the cohort. So who are these people? Who are you going to be sitting next to for a year? And are you one of them? Okay, get this number in your head. 18 years. That's the average work experience. Just let that sink in for a second. We're not talking about learning leadership from a book here. You're in a room debating real-world, high-stakes problems with people who've been making those kinds of calls for almost 2 decades. It's a different world. And here's the thing. That super experienced group, it's kept small on purpose. We're talking only about 36 students. So forget about being a face in the crowd in some giant lecture hall. This is a tight-knit crew. You're going to know everybody's story, their wins, their losses. You get to go deep. And check this out. Inside that small group of 36 people, you've got 21 different nationalities. That is just incredible. Think about what that means. Every problem you discuss, every case study, it's suddenly being looked at from all these different cultural angles. That's a global education you literally can't replicate anywhere else. And if you want to put a face to those numbers, just look at this quote. It's not just abstract data, right? It's about who's sitting right next to you. One day, you're hashing out supply chain issues with someone from Apple. The next, you're talking about managing ridiculously complex projects with an engineer from NASA. I mean, come on, that's the magic of this cohort. All right, so maybe your interest is piqued. You're thinking, okay, this sounds like me. So what's the next step? How do you actually get in? Let's break down the application process. The cool thing is the whole process is built for busy senior people. They know you don't have time for a long, drawn-out affair. So you submit your application, you'll hear back from an initial screen in about a week. Then comes the interview, and you get a final decision just a couple of weeks after that. It's fast, refreshingly fast. So what do you actually need to pull together? It's pretty straightforward. You've got the online form, of course, 2 focused essays, each about 600 words, a sharp 2-page CV, 1 good professional reference, and your academic transcripts. That's the package. It's thorough for sure, but totally manageable. And now for the question that I know is on a lot of people's minds. What about the GMAT, or the GRE? Well, here's some good news. LBS gets it. They know that your 18+ years of experience probably say more about you than a standardized test score ever could. So yes, you can get a waiver, especially if you can show you've got the quantitative chops from your career. Okay, let's not beat around the bush. We got to talk about the elephant in the room for a program like this. The money. What's the investment look like? So here's the headline number for the 2025 class. The tuition is £97,950. Yeah, it's a serious financial commitment, no doubt about it, and it's best to just put that number right out there. But, and this is a big but, that number shouldn't be an automatic deal breaker.
there are definitely ways to make it work. LBS itself has scholarships, you've got loan programs like Prodigy Finance that are built for this stuff, and of course, a ton of people successfully make the case for their company to sponsor them. That's a really common path.
And just a quick practical tip, you have to think about the whole picture, not just tuition. There's a small fee for the student association and, you're living in London for a year. The school suggests budgeting around £25,000 to £30,000 for living expenses if you're single. It's a good, realistic number to have in your plan.
Which brings us to the final, and let's be honest, the most important question of all. You put in the time, you make the investment, what's the return? What's this transformation that you always hear Sloan Fellows talking about?
I really love this quote here because it just gets straight to the point. It's not just about what you learn in a classroom. The real value is clarity. For so many people, this is the first real chance they've had in their entire career to stop, breathe, and figure out who they are, what they actually want, and how they're going to get it.
So, what does that actually look like on the ground? Well, it means taking all the amazing experience you already have and learning how to frame it for the C-suite. It means instantly plugging into this massive, powerful global network. We're talking over 55,000 alumni. And maybe most importantly, it's about finding the guts to make that big move you've been dreaming about, whether that's hitting the accelerator on your current career, jumping to a totally new industry, or, maybe even starting your own thing. This quote here really hits home on the value of hitting that pause button. I mean, who can't relate to this? You're working 80-hour weeks and you completely lose sight of the big picture. The Sloan gave him the space to find that strategic view of his own life again. And that is just so hard, practically impossible to do when you're caught up in the daily grind.
And so that brings it all back to you. The LBS Sloan is really a launch pad. It gives you the toolkit, the network, and that precious time to think. So the only question left to answer is the one right there on your screen. What will your next chapter be?